analysis of different disciplines versus these specialized New World Order minions?
Yeah, well, what we've got to do, Alex, is we've got to reevaluate our understanding of intelligence. You know, cleverness is not wisdom, and cleverness without wisdom is the most destructive force on earth. And what happens with left-brain-dominated cleverness in terms of technology and stuff like that.
David, let me stop you. I think the cord to your phone may be loose because we're losing your audio. Can you check that?
Yeah. It's a hotel phone. I shall complain.
Yeah, I think when you're, I would imagine that you're walking around and when it's tugging.
I'm sitting perfectly still.
Okay, well,
what's going on?
Sure.
I'm coming and going.
Start over. Go back to you were saying when you have these individuals, you were saying cleverness is not wisdom.
Yeah, cleverness without wisdom is the most destructive force on earth, because without the balance of wisdom, cleverness can just go wild and create infinite death and destruction. I mean, it's very, very clever to know how to create an atomic bomb, but it's not wise to do so, especially not to use it. And so we've got these left-brain prisoners running the system who are clever. Well, some of them are bloody stupid, but clever, but they don't have the balance of wisdom. And intelligence is not just being able to remember, what size shoes the Normans took in the Battle of Hastings in 1066. It's being able to see things that less intelligent people can't see. And I'll give you an example of the difference. I spoke at the Brixton Academy in London to 2,500 people about a month ago, and in that audience was every race, every income bracket, every range of society, age, the lot. And I gave them everything I could give them, because the reason they were there is they had open-minded intelligence. But when I spoke to these, quote, brilliant students at Oxford University, I'm sitting in the hotel room in the afternoon thinking, how do I put this in baby steps so these people have any chance of getting it? It's because we have misunderstood what intelligence is. And intelligence is not just academia as we perceive it. It's the wisdom to see things, to see the connections of things. It locks into intuition.
I agree. Let me ask you a question.
Rather than thinking.
Let me bring forward an example of what I think of as wisdom. Exactly. They can come up with a GMO food that makes some huge profits and corners the market on food. And that would be clever. But did they, with wisdom, think about what that'll even do to their own grandchildren? No. These clever, wicked people, they just do it because they can in this mad, almost instinctive race to have power, to dominate, to control. The rationale is, well, if I don't do it, somebody else will. But also wisdom really is about being tied into the human journey, the human species, realizing we're all connected and not being selfish. I mean, they're clever to have power, but they're also blinded in that they think they really are disconnected from the rest of reality, when really, when some soldier rapes and kills a child, they're raping and killing their own soul.
Exactly. And Einstein said that you cannot solve problems with the same level of...
His phone's totally cutting out.
David, I got to stop you again. Can you wiggle that cord? David, stop. I need you to wiggle that cord in that phone, or we may have to reconnect with you. Because
I tell you what, when we have a break, I'll try the other phone on the other side of the room.
That's what we'll do. That's perfect. We'll call you on the other phone. Okay, you're back now. I could barely hear you say Einstein.
Yeah. What I was saying is Einstein said that you cannot solve problems with the same level of consciousness that created them. And that's what we're constantly trying to do. And that's why, you replace a government with another party. But that party, be it Democrat or Republican, Labor or Conservative, is coming in with the same level of consciousness, i.e. the political system's consciousness, as the one it's replacing. So instead of solving problems, it just creates more. And we're at a point now where we need to move to another level of consciousness. And overwhelmingly, this is again connected to getting out of the left brain dominated reality, so that we can see how we're creating these problems. Because if you're at the same level of consciousness that created them, you can't see how the problems are being created. So you just go round and round and round. And what's happening is more and more people who haven't necessarily been through the education system and got degrees and bits of paper and letters after their name, they're opening to a level of consciousness which is higher than that which created the problems, and therefore they can start to see ways out of here.
Now, I want to shift gears into currently what's happening with Iran, why the globalists are devaluing the dollar, why they're preparing to bring us into a world crisis as the springboard to the next level, what things will look like if the Illuminists and their controllers are able to build their world. So seeing it from their perspective, their view, what they want, this cold-blooded view, versus what freedom and love and liberty and the human revolution. We see these two different revolutions, the tyrant's revolution for global domination to have the final revolution of total dehumanization, global extermination of 90% of the world's population, versus this, for every action there's an equal reaction. We see a rising up against that. So as they intensify their juggernaut, their control system, as they throw more coal in the engine and accelerate towards Armageddon, we see another massive force, love and liberty and decency and honor and wisdom, rising up against it.
Yeah, it's like the irresistible force against the immovable object. And the immovable object, they perceive themselves to be anyway, are this network of control and enslavement. But it's a house of cards. I've been saying this for years. It's a house of cards because we are holding it together. This is the key point we have to understand. I've been saying in this election campaign, just bringing it down to a basic level, that we've had people in this country fined hundreds of pounds for putting their wheelie trash bin out on the wrong day, according to the council's day that says they should put it out.
And they spy on your trash. We have to start saying, no, I'm not going to go along with this. Go ahead.
We had a guy in the last week here who was fined £100 by a council for putting a card in his own car saying it was for sale. He was charged with trading in the street because he parked it somewhere to go to a shop. Now, if we just allow that to happen and say, oh, that's terrible, isn't it ridiculous, what's the world coming to, then we're going to walk straight into this prison cell that we can't see the bar, well, most people can't see the bars, although they're beginning to, and the door's going to click shut, and then we're going to say, oh, hold a second, we're in a cell, what do we do? Well, it's going to be a bit bloody late then. What we need to do now is to have a non-violent, absolutely non-violent, non-cooperation campaign with the system that's enslaving us. If someone's fined for putting a wheelie bin out on the wrong day, then hundreds and thousands of people need to put their wheelie bin out on the wrong day indefinitely until the laws change. People need to go round with cards in their cars with adverts on until the laws change. This is the only way we're going to do it, because politicians aren't going to change it. Politicians are told how to vote because they want to progress in their party.
They've got the big think tanks that and the party heads manage them. I wanted to bring this up. 2 years ago, I was in England, 2.5 years ago, right after the London bombing, for Terror Storm, my film. And the police, when I was being quiet, I'd be standing there videotaping somewhere in London or outside London, and cops would walk over and say, I'm putting you in a database. You're not allowed to videotape in this country.
No.
I'd be talking to crowds of people. They'd walk over and say, you're not allowed to talk to people. And it was before they'd banned protest around Parliament. It was about a week later they did, and they just said, we don't care, not allowed to be here, no law. And now they're even coming up to mainline reporters. And how did they get these police, these bobbies, to with pleasure come over? And now it's in the British news. They harass everyone, even mainline reporters. They tell people don't talk to others in the streets. I mean, this is worse than East Germany, and it just happened overnight, David.
Yeah, well, I had shall we say, an animated discussion with some policemen when I was filming a television program. I was in Parliament, and they came over to me and said, excuse me, have you got permission? I said, what permission? I said, I pay taxes to pay for this place. And they said, oh, well, we had to come over because we've got cameras all around Parliament Square, so we had to come over and see what you were doing. I said, well, you've got cameras all over Parliament Square. Look at your screens and you'll see. Go away. And this